Cardiff Met Sport Radio.
This is Cardiff Met Radio, and I'm Harrison Jones. I am joined by my co-presenter, Mackenzie Squires. How are you?
I'm very good, mate. How are you today?
I'm doing very good, mate. Let's start with what I think we're all here for, the Cardiff clash. What do you think of the fixture?
Yeah, I think of the fixture, yeah, mate. Obviously, it's the big one every year. When you come to Christmas, the one that everyone's sort of, talking about, sold out like it is every year. It just seems to get bigger and bigger every year. I'm really excited for it. How about you? You got your ticket?
I've got my ticket. I'm more of a football fan, to be honest, and it's quite shocking if I'm going to the rugby. You're a rugby avid fan. Do you reckon Met have a good chance of winning?
Yeah, I think on paper, definitely you'd look at that and say that Met are definitely the favourites going in. But, to be fair to Cardiff United, I think they've improved a lot since that first game. That second game, obviously, but the first game against Met this season, I think they've improved a lot. You probably wouldn't, if you just looked at the table, you wouldn't say that. They're only on 8 points. However, Met have had a few. I think it's fair to say sort of not dodgy results. I think they're fair results, but teams that you wouldn't usually lose to. Obviously that Nottingham game, very high scoring game. Sort of missed a kick at the end, otherwise they would have won. But obviously Leeds Beckett, who. Since I've been here at Cardiff Met, they've never lost to, and I think that was a point in it again. And Cardiff Union lost by them a point last week as well. So I think Cardiff Union, I think they got nothing to lose. I think they got absolutely nothing to lose, and I think even as someone who wants Cardiff Met to win, I think we all just want a bit of a game. Last time it wasn't so much of a game; it was just a bit more too one-sided. But yeah, I mean. I would say whatever, the outcome, it would be a great day. But, yeah, maybe it won't be so great if Cardiff Met lose. But, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. So,
I think you brought up some of the previous fixtures. I think Leeds Beckett, I think you brought up Cardiff Uni. What's the team predictions, you think, for this game? Like, is there any key injuries within the squad? Any key players such as Roma Sheng, Joe Cowell? Any of those players in the team?
Nah, from last week, as far as I'm aware, there's no injuries.
For women's rugby?
There's absolutely no injuries. Obviously last week against Swansea, I think it seemed everyone was firing all cylinders, especially Roma Zhang. He's a phenomenal player. I think he's taken maybe a little bit of time to slightly get into it with the Bucks rugby, obviously away with Harlequins, but he was phenomenal. He's phenomenal last Wednesday, and like Joe Cowell, to be fair to him, I think he had a few options at the end of the season last year to perhaps maybe go play for someone else, but he's stuck with Cardiff Met, and I think he's been absolutely phenomenal this season. And I suppose you could call him Mr. Cardiff Clash, really, because there was that time in his second year where he had the option to go play for Cardiff Blues, obviously Cardiff Rugby now, against Harlequins in a professional game, but he turned that down to play in the Cardiff Clash. So I think that just shows as well just what it means to the players playing in the game.
So we caught up with the women's team. We caught up with 2 first-team players earlier. So let's hear about them.
It was really good. We played them a couple of weeks before in the league, which was probably a bit of an interesting one because we kind of had a game to suss each other out. So it was interesting just playing them 2 weeks later. The game itself for me was actually a little bit quiet. I didn't have loads who actually doing the game, but that's the interesting thing with cups and pens is that you can go from not really doing much in the game to then suddenly pens, you got to try and win your team the game. So that was a bit strange for me in the game. But yeah, in terms of the cup competition, it's a route to Europe as well, which is really important for us. I think we're into the quarters now, so it's 3 games from potentially getting to a European competition, which is the way we're trying to look at it. It's a really exciting opportunity. But yeah, the Welsh Cup is like loads of history as well, so it's a really important competition. So it's really good to do well in it, yeah.
Yeah, so we just hear from you and Guy there. Leading on to that, like within the women's team, let's just hear quickly from them.
Personally, I'm very excited for it, and I think the squad as well, hoping to put out another performance like we did last time.
Yeah, I think we're all excited, and obviously last week wasn't our best result, so going into Cardiff Clash, I think we're just looking forward to it and hoping to get a win.
So, the Met women's team won comprehensively last time out, Mackenzie. What do you think their prediction for the match will be?
Yeah, well, if I didn't see last week's result against Edinburgh, then I'd probably say much the same. But, I mean, they went all the way up to Edinburgh last week, which, you know, it's obviously difficult having to travel all the way up from Cardiff to Edinburgh, and they obviously lost that game, which, you know, earlier on in the season, it was probably quite a shock how the win. I think it was 45 points to 12. But, you know, looking at it again, I even though that was a poor result last week, I can't see a way that Cardiff Uni can win this one. And, you know, to be fair to them, it's their first season in this league. You know, it's, you know, a lot of those players in that team for Cardiff Uni just probably wouldn't have experienced playing against such competitive teams week in, week out, you know, and I think that does take a toll eventually. So, you know, personally, I just can't see it going any other way than a Cardiff Met victory again.
So let's go straight into what we'll expect if you head onto campus if you're not a rugby fan.
Yeah, that's true. You know, it's not all about the Cardiff Clash. There are a few sports on campus this Wednesday as well. The women's first team water polo will be playing against Bath. You've also got the women's volleyball who are playing Southampton. As far as first team sport, that's where it ends. However, interestingly, the men's basketball team have got a intergame against their basketball freeze, which is on at 4:15. So I think that'd be an interesting game. Are you into basketball at all, Harrison?
I am not a fan of basketball. I'm
You've
more
got
of
the
a
height, mate.
I've got the
Give it a
height.
go.
I've got the size, you could say, though. I think there's football in the morning. If you haven't discussed, I think there's a CIPL for cricket, which we'll get later on to the episode. But let's go and introduce what happened over the weekend with Alex Lang with his heroics against Haverfordwest.
It was really good. We played them a couple of weeks before in the league, which was probably a bit of an interesting one because we kind of had a game to suss each other out. So it was interesting just playing them 2 weeks later. The game itself for me was actually a little bit quiet. I didn't have loads of actually doing the game, but that's a bit of the interesting thing with cups and pens is that you can go from not really doing much in the game to then suddenly pens, you got to try and win your team the game. So that was a bit strange for me in the game. But yeah, in terms of the cup competition, it's a route to Europe as well, which is really important for us. I think we're into the quarters now, so it's 3 games from potentially getting to a European competition, which is the way we're trying to look at it. It's a really exciting opportunity. But yeah, the Welsh Cup is like loads of history as well, so it's a really important competition. So it's really good to do well in it, yeah.
So we just heard from Alex Lang there, number 1 keeper for Cardiff Met. What do you make of their season so far, Mackenzie?
Yeah, I mean, you said you're the football guy, so I suppose it's more me asking you that question. What do you think of their season so far, Harrison?
That's a very good point. I'm a football fan now. I've covered it for the last 2 years. I should know. I should have been the one to be asked about it. This season as a whole, this season is very unexpected. I think Met placing 4th or something, 4th in the league for Cardiff Met Uni, it's something which you'd probably expect from the rugby team. I think the last 11, they've only lost 1 against Carnarvon, but that was a humiliating defeat, which was 5-1. I don't think we kept a clean sheet in the last 11 as well. But Alex Lang, he could be tipped for Wales C. He's a keeper who's missed out unluckily over the last few years, I think, to I want to say Connor Roberts and I want to say Alex Ramsey as well. He's unluckily missed out. But this season, maybe the last 11 games, you could probably try and tip it into the Wales C team. I think that's more of a Mark Jones kind of offer. And he's a friend of mine, and I hope he doesn't hear this podcast or hear this radio bulletin from what I'm saying. But let's go straight into the women's team this season. I don't know if from what I've seen, they've underperformed in Bucks a little bit. Within the main team, they've completely removed some of their players. I think they've had Amelia Fawkins from Cardiff City go to Cardiff City. They've lost players to Swansea. They've lost players generally all over the place and replaced them with youngsters. And I think you're going to have to see that's what that's going to be expecting. If you're going to remove all your first team players and replace them with youngsters, you know it could be set up to fail. But luckily, I don't think they're going to get relegated, which I don't think that was their goal. I think their goal was trying to get into the top 4, but you have Wrexham, Swansea, and Cardiff City trying to battle them out. But within their Bucks teams, we'll go straight into their Bucks teams for men's and women's. Like I previously just discussed there, the women's team, I think have now summed up. They can't get relegated, but they can't finish top. So, I think their leftover games now maybe focus on the cup. I think they're still in the cup now. Within the men's team, the men's 1s and men's 2s play in the same division. men's twos last few weeks have been picking up wins and wins after losing on the opening day. We've seen various players such as Tom Vincent from the first team alongside other players such as Kean Williams, Haven Sampson, a lot of players from the Met team feature $4 for their ones, and generally for the whole season for the football system from the ones, twos teams, it's been amazing. I've been lucky to cover the whole system, and it's been good to see from the threes to sixes. It's been very positive. So, Mackenzie, we're gonna head to our next. We're gonna see what some of the sports stars think about their moments of the year.
Well, this year, probably last clash, maybe beating Loughborough at home a couple of weeks ago. Probably the Loughborough one. I think obviously coming in, we had a couple of games where we had a loss and went away a couple of times as well. So to be home on Rugby One.
Favourite moment of the year has to be Ryan Busby playing box fours, making his debut and scoring as well off the bench straight away. Probably the best moment of the year so far.
I'd have to say just this home game we've just had Swansea at home, where past 2 years we've lost them at home. This year we finally beat them. And
I'd say the men's first team, which I'm a part of, going up to South Prem from Western One last year. It happened, third term of my second year. It was fantastic. The scenes were amazing. There were even some tears at the end of it. So big celebrations after that, and now we're thriving in South Prem.
So we've heard from Joe Cowler, Roma Sheng, to the first Rugby One stars, and we've heard from Bailey Williams, who I think is a freeze gaffer, and I think we heard from Ewan Ferguson, who's a tennis star. But me and Mackenzie have picked out our own moment of the year of 2023. What's yours, Mackenzie?
Yeah, well, I'm going to agree with Owen there. I think my number third moment of the year is the men's first team tennis in the promotion to that Box Premier League South. You know, like you said, quite an emotional day for those boys involved. You know, quite lucky for him. You know, he still got time here left at Met, but there were quite a few boys there who that was their final competitive games for Cardiff Met tennis. You know, Alex Hyman being one of them. You know, that was, a great day for, just all those people involved, because I think they really deserved it, really put that work in throughout the year. So what's your third?
My third, I don't think there's it has to be, I think, say the cricket. I think they won Loughborough last year. I'm a football kind of guru, but there's a lot of cricket who play within the football system, so it's happy for me to see them succeed against Loughborough, but it's like the scenes were just unbelievable.
All right, I'll see if you can guess my second one, okay? They won Most Improved Team last year at the Sport Awards.
I think I know this, because my mate plays for them. Water polo,
That's
I think.
right, water polo. So water polo this year, of course, just a couple of weeks ago, in fact, they won their league, so they've been promoted as well. I think it just shows again, like, they may even be up for Team of the Year now, not Most Improved, but obviously that's over those 2 years. They've obviously got promoted, then got promoted straight again. So I think, be definitely a team to keep an eye on next year. I think obviously they'll be moved. Of course, that's the whole thing about promotion. The more you go up, the tougher it'll get. But it'll be interesting to see, because they haven't lost a game this season yet, at least in the league. They've still got the cup to go, which they're still in. Of course, haven't lost if they're still in that. But yeah. So what's your second then, Harrison? I'll
counter-attack onto that and say, as you said, I think Most Improved, I'll go for the Team of the Year instead. I'm going to go for the men's twos. Or you could also call it the reserve side, who, I don't think it's a moment. I think there's a few moments, but they have remained unbeaten during the whole time in 2023. What do you think of that?
Yeah, well, I mean, the Invincibles then, isn't it?
Exactly. So before we go to it, what's your top one?
All right, so my top one would be, the Cardiff clash, but the women's Cardiff clash. So obviously, it's the first ever year that's ever happened from Cardiff Union, obviously being promoted into the Women's National League, and I think it's just, brilliant. The women's Met rugby team, they've been covered a lot this year. They're doing really well, but I just think, that was just a great moment, just not for, everyone involved in the union of the women's rugby, but just, in women's rugby in general. I think, you see that game again tomorrow, the return fixture, but I just think that was a great moment for just women, not just, the Women's National League, but just rugby in general.
So my top moment, I think we could easily see, but we got a rugby person and a football person here. Mine's always going to be a top one of the football. men's ones last year, finishing top. I think it was against Bristol 2s, while we won 6-1. Trying to hear from the Hartbury first Bristol 1 score what was happening. I think there's a few drinks. I don't think I can say that on camera, but there's a few drinks on that day. In fact, we're celebrating it on the day. I think everybody had a happy experience. The famous chant of Sha-la-la-la, Cardiff, mate, you could say. There was a few chants like that all throughout the day. So, last week we had the tennis, and we are joined by our guest, Igor.
Yeah, hello guys. We're happy to see you here and hear you. Basically, last week on the December the 6th, men's tennis first. They had a draw. Basically, the tennis first team. Yeah, guys. On the December the 6th. Yeah, they had a draw. It was 3-3. That was a very tough game, but unfortunately, our first team they didn't manage to lose. And of course, over the weekend, we saw UTR Pro Tennis Tour, which was like a huge event hosted here at the Kinkoit campus at our tennis center. Basically, I believe we want to highlight some of the prominent names who secured the wins. So Robert Besnia, half British, half Romanian, won the 17th playoff final against Edward Etsy. Then David Quayle grabbed the 9th playoff final, leaving Jojali Madaraj behind. Yeah, and of course, probably the highlight of the entire day was Miles Groom's game against Freddie Murray in the 13th playoff final, because the match lasted for 3 hours, 27 minutes, with 3 aces throughout the game for both parties. I believe Miles Groom, in the end, came out the winner, but the game was tough for both opponents. And of course, as for the winner, UTR Pro Tennis Tour got won by Eunice Loren against Finn Mergett for the first place. Yeah, he won 6-2, 6-4 against Finn Mergett, and we congratulate the Frenchman. So, back to you guys.
Thank you, Igor. We're going to head... I don't know if you saw over the weekend, Mackenzie, of the sexist views of Joey Barton. I think it's something that needs to be discussed. We saw that he had an agenda to female commentators commentating on a men's game. It's very disrespectful from him. What's your views from that?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's been a bit hard to avoid. I think you just got to look at Joey Barton's track record just to know that, the man just talks an absolute load of nonsense. But, I think, he's not talking to us directly. We're not women, of course, so I think it's better that we sort of get the opinion of someone who, is sort of working in the industry at the moment. Claky, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
We are joined by Leaky Wayne, an up-and-coming, promising radio commentator at Cardiff, Met. You've covered netball, rugby.
Yeah.
Open to do women's football?
Yeah, of course. I'd be open to taking any sport on, really, because as, differently to Joey Barton, I feel like I can turn my hand to any sport if you analyse it and practice, as in it's not outside our reach. I don't even... I'm just so shocked that we're even having this conversation.
Yeah.
That it's even a topic of conversation in this day and age. I thought that time was long gone. I physically feel that we're on a wave right now of change in society, in the development of women in sports. That we're having much more of a platform. A positive change is happening, and then there's somebody like Joey Barton who just won't get on the bandwagon and just be part of that positive change. It's a shame to see.
One of my favourite commentators what I've heard from her stories is Alex Scott. I think I read up about, I was doing my dissertation last year, and I found out she done a dissertation, and then turns out her next day is doing a World Cup semi-final. Something which Joey Barton can't relate to, you could say. Who's your favourite women commentators growing up? Because I think Joey Barton actually has no knowledge of that, you could say.
You mentioned Alex Scott there. For currently, she's doing fantastically well. I think it's all about visibility. But as commentators recently, then I've been really enjoying Emma Hayes as a commentator as well, because she says it how it is. I'm not really sure what Joey Barton is after in a commentator. I don't think we've got the same type of view of what that is. And although the women's sport and the men's sports are on two completely different journeys. You just cannot compare. They're just two different games on their own type of development journey. You just can't compare. So, but that does not mean that I can't commentate on a men's game. Do you know what I mean? As in, there should be no limits, because we've seen men commentating on women's games for years, so for decades. So why can't it be the other way around? Personally, I just cannot understand where this thought process is coming from.
Finally, have you got a message straight to Joey Barton about your view? Because I think there's a lot of, I think we've heard Laura Woods say about her view. We've had a lot of people say about their view to Joey Barton's claims.
Well, I just completely disagree. And I think that it's really important that we get more visibility of women within the sporting scene in the industry, whether it's commentating or in any other production roles or behind the scenes or managing or coaching. It's so important for the growth of the game and just society in general. There needs to be so much more respect for the ability of women within sports.
Thank you, Kaleki. We're going straight to the water polo, as they remained, I think they've just recently only won the league this season, and we heard from one of the players.
Coming into this season, mate, what were your goals?
Most importantly, the goals were to just to develop the club as much as possible. Last year, under the captaincy of Jack Mont, we really pushed on and developed the squad. We had loads of numbers compared to my first year. The aim was just to win more games. We came so close last year. We only lost 2 games, our final 2, and then this year, we've developed such a strong team. I just want to keep developing us.
So obviously then you won the league. Can you tell me a bit about that game and just the overall feeling after as well?
Yeah, so we knew going into the game it was going to be a tough match, extra a strong team, but we knew we had the driving seat really. We were aiming for the win all the way. We knew it was going to be tough. The second quarter we let it slip and they almost got back into the game, but we really pushed on from there. We've developed into a team that's able to push ourselves even when we're under pressure, and we really showed it as we dominated the game from the last 2 quarters.
So I think the water polo won 50-3 last week. So let's go straight to the cricket, which I think, Igor, you've got.
Yeah, sure. There is something to report about cricket because now we have Kondo Indoor Premier League going on in the sports hall at the Kinkoid campus. Important thing to mention, I believe, is that there are 8 teams participating in the fixtures. Let's name them. These are Burns Bullets, Leach Legends, Phila Phoenix, Love Lions, Douthwaite Diamonds, Evans Eagles, Sisodia Stars, and Root Renegades. The interesting thing is that every team is named after an ex-Cardiff Met player who are currently on a first-class or international contract. So basically, the Burns Bullets are named after Rory Burns, Leach Legend after Jack Leach, and Phila Phoenix after Lauren Phila, for example. So the CIPL is like an indoor fixture where the conventional cricketing rules, they constantly change, and that's what brings actually the fun, because no wides and no ball are counted. So if the ball hits the net, can be counted is 1 run. If the ball hits the net and the fielder catches it, then it's out. If a batsman then reaches 30 runs, he has to retire, and he only comes back if the rest of the wickets fall and there is no batsman. So generally in the league, every team, they play 2 games each, and currently, for example, Love Lions and Douthwaite Diamonds are the only 2 teams that are unbeaten and are sitting at the top of the table. So Love Lions are the table toppers with 4 points, and the Douthwaite Diamonds, even after having scored 4 points, are second because of their current net run rate. If you want to follow this league, you can easily access the YouTube stream, which is available and appears on YouTube every Wednesday. And if you want to get even more involved, there is even the Fantasy League existing where you can pick different cricket players. So that's available for everyone.
Thank you, Igor. Thank you, Igor. We go straight to a former Welsh Olympian, Colin Jackson, who was luckily here at campus today.
Yeah, okay, Colin Jackson joining us here. Colin, thanks for being with us. Our first question is just summing up the whole year. Could you please tell us what's your favorite sport moment of this year is?
Oh, that is a question. There's been so many great moments in the world of sport, but you know, I have to go back to my own sport of athletics, really. I mean, the Budapest World Championships were just outstanding. And of course, Britain's 2 world champions were fantastic to see. I think the return of Katarina Johnson-Thompson to the back of, and her being at her best again, was just phenomenal to see her compete so well. So that was an exciting moment. And added to that, Josh Kerr in the 1500 metres, who'd have thought that he was going to beat the great Ingebrigtsen, right? Nobody would have thought that was going to happen, but he managed to do that. So for me, they were just phenomenal moments in our sport. So I was very excited to see those.
And of course, we're looking forward to 2024 Olympics. So what are your expectations about it? Any promising Welsh athletes?
Do you know, we've always got promising Welsh athletes, which is good. Not always just in track and field, but in swimming as well. Matthew is really impressive. He's just won the short course European Championships in Romania as well. And so he's one of the people we're going to look forward to taking a gold medal and bringing that home for Wales again. And yeah, you know, it's an Olympic year. And when the Olympic Games happen, I always say literally magic happens. So, you know, you watch this space because there's going to be new names, there's going to be exciting competition. And I think it's just nice to engage people again in the world of sport at the very highest level.
So, well, there's an athletics event, I think, this Sunday at the Cardiff Met this season. I think this year. I think there's an event with, I think they're doing a 100-metre, like, reindeer race or dash, I think it is.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. So, obviously, the athletics event held on 17th of December here at Cardiff Met in the NIAC, the National Indoor Athletics venue. But yeah, like you said, there'll be a bit of fun there. There's going to be, what did you call it? Sorry? I
want to say the 100-metre reindeer dash. I've completely butchered that, but I think that's going to be a great watch. Yeah, it's going to be a great watch. When I covered Cardiff Met Barry when they were in the Prem, I had to watch them 7 times. That was not worth the watch during that time. We've seen some classic fixtures. I think there was an MG Cup semi-final where we luckily got to the final. But that game's going to be worth a watch. Got Barry Town, Gavin and Stacey, first Cardiff Met. You just know it's Cardiff Met. We're going to win. Hopefully we do win. But it's Christmas round the corner. Have you got the festive spirit, Mackenzie?
Do you know what, mate? I think on Wednesday I'll definitely be feeling it at the rugby. I think, you know, there's sort of events like those, you know, like sort of those big sport events. They sort of, you know, when you